So yesterday we saw the Yesodi machlokis between Abaya and Rava regarding Yir Shaloi Midas. So if somebody goes ahead, picks up something, and it doesn't have a siman. It doesn't have a siman. In other words, the owner has no way of getting it back. So he knows as soon as he finds out, he will be miyayish. What happens if you pick it up before that time? What happens if you pick it up before he's miyayish? Can you go ahead and is it Hariyel Shalo, or do you have to return it? I don't know how you would return it, but the question is, can you keep it or not? So says Rava, you can keep it. Since when he finds out he's going to be miyayish, we'll view it as now when you picked it up as if he was miyayish already. That's Rava's svara. Says Abaya, yish midas lo have a yish, and therefore you would not be able to keep it. And then we brought questions back and forth, and we can continuing along that line of reasoning. And at the end, we're going to see that halacha is in conjunction with Abaya, that yish midas lo have a yish. So we're on the bottom of Chaf Aleph on the base, the bottom line. Tashma. Haganif shenotel mizeh v'nasan lezeh. A ganif that's not robbing, but maybe shenotel mizeh, he steals from one. V'notel nasan lezeh, he gives to another. V'chein gazlin shenotel mizeh v'nasan lezeh. Now, what's the difference between a ganif and a gazlin? A ganif, you wouldn't know about it because he does it clandestinely. A gazlin, he does it in front of you, right? V'yigs les achonis. So, v'nasan lezeh. V'chein yardein, the Jordan River. Rashi points out it's lav dafka the Jordan River. It's any river, but this Tana was at the Jordan River at the time. Shenatal mizeh v'nasan lezeh. Ma shenatal natal. Whatever he took, they took. U'ma shenasan nasan. And whatever they gave, they gave. Whatever's given, it's done. It belongs to the person. Now, Bishleim a Gazlan v'yardein dichuk chazile u'miyayish. Bishleim a Gazlan and the Yardein that you could see and the miyayish. Good. Ganif mika chazile de miyayish. So it's a question on Abaya, guys. You see over here, it was stolen from you. You don't know it's stolen, and the one who steals it gives it to you. You can keep it. It's yish shalei midas because the person didn't know. So it's a raya like Rava that have a yish. It's a good yish when the person who receives it can keep it, and it's a kasha on Abaya. Tigmar Papa, it's not speaking about a guy that you do not know. Tigmar Papa belistim mizuyim. We're speaking about armed robbers. With that a person goes ahead and with takes it away, and therefore it's not yish shaloi midas, it's yish midash. So when it says ganif over here, it means listim mizuyim. We had this Gemara already, guys. When it says ganif over here, it doesn't mean a ganif that you don't know. It means a listim mizuyim. For the Gemara, if it's speaking about listim mizuyim, that's not a ganif, hainu gazlin. That's a gazlin. Says Gemara trey gavni gazlin. The Brisa taught two types of gazlonim. Bottom line is Abaya held serve. It's speaking about yish midas, and it's not a problem. Chaf Beis Amid Aleph, a few lines down. Tashma Shotaf Nar Kairav Eitzav Avanov. If the river goes ahead, it overflows and takes away your beams, your wood, your stones. V'nasna b'toich sadach haveiroi, and it puts it what in the field of your friend. Hariyel Shaloi, it belongs to you. Mifnei shenisashu abaylim, because what your Baal gives up hope. Haima, the reason you can keep it, shenisashu abaylim, because the Baal gave up hope. Hastama, but if you don't know, you didn't give up hope. Loi, so it's a kasha on Rava. You see, yish lemi das, lo havi yish. It's speaking where he's able to save it, and he doesn't. So he sees the river going ahead, carrying something away. He takes a look at it, and he doesn't bother. What's the key point? That he knows about it, right? The key point is, it's yish midas. He sees it being floating away. It's not like kashla, you thought that he doesn't know about it. He knows about it, right? So since he's able to save it and he doesn't save it, then what? Then it's yish midas, and therefore keep it. Ihachi, Fred the Gemara, it's speaking where he's able to keep it. Aim is safer, why not the safer? Imhoyu abaylim merat from achreihem. If the Baal is chasing afterwards, chayv lahachzer. Right? Now, Fred the Gemara, ibi yechol lahatzel, if he's able to save it, my area meratfin, I feel a meratfin nami. Why does it have to be a case where he's running after it to save it? Even a meratfin nami. He knows what he sees. What's his tomorrow? He'll go and get it. In other words, if he's able to save it, what does that mean? He's able to save it, that it's not lost from him. It doesn't mean he has to act upon saving it. He knows tomorrow I'll get it. You didn't take out the garbage tonight. You'll take it out tomorrow. He knows that wherever it is tomorrow, the river's he'll get it. So Fred, whatever it is, again, it's not talking about washing out to sea. We're talking about washing in the neighborhood. So you'll know that. So it's floating down the block. In the block, some you'll find it on the block. So Fred the Gemara, why do you need the physical action of Redifa, right, to go ahead and say that? Therefore, you can't keep it. If it's able to hatzil, like you're zetzing on the Reisha, and he knows about it, then what's shot in the safer? Why do you miratzvin? Says the Gemara. It's not so clear that he's able to save. He's able to save al yidei atchak. Miratfin. So guys. So he's able to save al yidei atchak regarding the kasha of Yush Lemidas. It's not a kasha. Why? Because it's Yush. Why do you need miratfin? So miratfin lo yushay, by running after it, he shows he's not miyayish. Ain't miratfin a yushi miyayish. But if he doesn't miratfin, he's giving up hope. Because he's only able to save it through al yidei atchak, through great exertion. It's not like we thought, you could save it side by side. No, it's speaking, you're going to lose it if you don't exert yourself. Therefore, miratfin, you're exerting yourself. Imrafin, exerting yourself. But regarding Yush Lemidas, he knows about it. Tashma. Okay, here's a more long to show. The questions can be only people who are physically in share can ask questions. We don't take questions.
My body, make believe my body is there.
Don't want that.
The case we said before that it gets washed up by his friend, and let's say he walks by a week later, even though he's miyayish, he has simonim on it. Can he reclaim it even though he's miyayish? Would the guy have to give it up to him?
Question: once you're miyayish, you're mafker, Hesh.
You're done. It's done, right?
So Rashi, once you're miyayish, you're mafker.
Yeah. Okay. Because it's miyayish, but yet with a heavy heart, because it got washed up.
It's about momentous here. It's not about emotion. Okay. This
okay.
Is emotional sugya. You either the guy can claim it or not. It's like the marshal goes when you don't pay rent, and the marshal goes into your house. It's yours. What's the story?
Yeah, well, you'd have the money.
Let's say, for example, hypothetically, a forensic accountant that works for the Port Authority, hypothetically, and you go ahead and it happens that you go in and these situations, and the guy's been skimming off the top. Like, what do you do? It's his, but it's not. Did I explain it to you?
I understand.
But that's the main thing.
Okay.
What?
It's not. He doesn't have to be miyayish saving. It's based on development. What development considers miyayish?
Not based on his actions. You can see whether it's yish or not.
The zuta shayam is not.
Zuta shayam doesn't make a difference. You can say I'm not miyayish.
Right.
This is not zuta shayam. Okay, now the next case is a little more involved. Okay, Ketzad Amru Hatarim Shalom Midas Truma Truma. What's the case of someone who's Toirim takes Truma off Shalom Midas without the das of the Balabas L'chayra, that it's a good Truma. Now, just again, the key to the sugi, guys. What does Rava hold? Rava holds that a knowledge that you'll know, it's a shtick like Breira. You know now because of an action that'll take later. You know that what? It's Yush now because he would be Yayish when he finds out, correct? So in other words, a thought that will be is considered as if it's now. A thought that will be, he will be Miyayish because there's no siman in it. Remember, if there's a siman, everyone agrees that what? Yechayiv lahakriz. The Yush Lamidas is only when there's no siman in it, right? That was what we established yesterday. So now, Ketzad Amru HaTorim Shlamidas Trumasai Truma. Someone goes down into his friend's field. Velikate, he takes up a crop, he gathers crop. Vitorim Shalei B'Shus. And he goes there and takes off Truma without the Shus of Balabas. Im Chayshish Mishum Gezel, if we're Chayish that he wants to steal it, ain't Trumasai Truma. Vim Lav Trumasai Truma. And what? And if he's not Gezel, it's a good Truma. So the Balabas doesn't know about it, and it's a good Truma. You know what the question is going to be? So just like the Balabas doesn't know about it now, it's good Truma. So to buy Yish, he doesn't know about it now, but finds out later it's a good Yish. How do you know if you have to be suspicious that it's Gezel and and the truma is not a good truma. Vim lav hari shababa vim lav hari shababa balabayas umatzai. Balabayas comes along, he finds the guy there, and he sees what this guy shaded up. He sees what he tithed. And he says to the individual, why don't you go to the better ones? In nimtzu yafis mehen, then truma say truma. So you could see that what he was happy with what he did, and those you should have done better. Vim lav, and if not, ain't truma say truma. If you don't find any better, then he's saying that what I didn't want you to do this. Okay, right? Says Rashi, klach etzel yafis, hoylo leilech etzel yafis lases men lekoyed. Good. Now, likto habailim. If the bailim after this person had gathered and put truma, separated, the baal now goes as malaket, vaysifu aleim, and he adds on to the truma of the man. Ben kach uben kach, whether he says klach etzel yafis, he doesn't say klach etzel yafis, truma say truma. Good. Now that's the Tosefta in trumas. Now, the nimtzu yafis mehen truma say truma. Amai. If you do find better, why is it a good truma? Be'idni the Torim, when this person went ahead and separated truma, holei have a yada, he didn't know. So guys, let's go through it. He didn't know the time he took off truma, but later on, when he finds out, he's good with it, it's considered good truma. So too over here, when he didn't know that was lost, that he should be miyayish. But later on, he finds out he's miyayish. It helps. It's a raya to Rava and a kasha on Abaya. You see that a process that takes place later affects something before. So just like the action of understanding he's happy with what this guy did helps that the truma that he separated is good truma, so too the yish, when he finds out, is considered as if he's miyayish before. It's a raya to Rava and a kasha on Abaya. Okay. And for the Tigmu Rava Ali with Abaya, I found this fascinating. Yeah. Rava is answering of Abaya. You see, guys, the ultimate quest for truth. This is a very bloggable thing, Kenny, Eleni. The very, very quest for truth, even though Rava and Abaya argue, and we're asking a question on Abaya, Rava will say the proof, I disagree with you in Svara, but the proof that you're bringing is not a good proof to me. In other words, Rav is answering up the kasha on Abaya. He still disagrees with him regarding Yesh Lamidas, but this question that you're bringing from Truma is Nishkan kasha. I think it's very, it shows the ultimate quest for Torah, how, you go after the truth. I think it's Gavaldik of the hair. No? It's Gavaldik of the hair. Tigma Rav Ali with Abaya. Think about a political opponent. What do we do with this? Right? Think about two rebels, Tigma. Yekis shouldn't be talking about Chasidus. Tigma Rav Ali with Abaya. The Shavya Shliach. It's speaking where he made him a shliach. So, guys, once he made him a shliach, it's knowledge. It's knowledge. I made you a shliach. Hachanami mistabra to say he made him a shliach. The isal kedaitech the loy shav yishliach mihavi truma say truma. Fellas, if you don't know me from Adam, like we just learned the Gemara, the guy goes down in the field, he goes ahead, he takes it, a complete stranger. That doesn't work. You can't be. It doesn't work. He can say klachetzel yafis haint bis morgen. It's not going to work because in order to take off truma, we learn out shlichus, guys, from truma. Atem gamatem. So we learn out. In other words, truma is the place where you can go ahead and make a shliach. It's the source in the Torah for shlichus. One of the sources for shlichus. So it has to be speaking for atem gam atem amrachmana. The pasuk in the Torah says, guys. What does the gam mean? Gamatem. Not only you, but gam, even your shliach. So of course it's got to be speaking about a shliach. If it wasn't speaking about a shliach, there's no way in the world you can go ahead. So once it's speaking about a shliach, of course it's not shakas to yish midas. You will man him a shliach. It's considered midas. Just like when you do something, it's the das. You told the shliach the following: Zil Torem, go take up truma. But you didn't tell him where to take from. Now, truma, guys, there's no share for truma. Okay. The stomach de balabayis kitarim mibenanis. When he takes off truma, he takes off what from the middle, not the best, not the worst, but the middle. And va'azal hutarim, va'azal ihu, and this individual went v'tarim miyafis, and he took it from the best. Ubal balabayis umatzam amalei klachetz liyafis. Imnim siyafis mehen shumasei truma, because then he's happy with his shlichus. Then lav ain't shumasei truma, because you didn't do your shlichus. But bottom line is, it has no bearing on the shaila of Yish Midas because it's Midas. Just a similar story that's based upon the Pesach we just gave. Amema umazutra v'Ravashi ikloi lebustino demori barisik. So the three people, three great Amoraim, Amemar, Mazutra, and Ravashi, they came to the orchard of Mori Barisik. I see Arise Tamre V'Rimoine, the sharecropper of Mori Bar Isik, who was getting a percentage of the crop, went and he brought these Rabbanim dates and pomegranates. The Shada Kamayu, and he threw it in front of Amem Mazutra Ravashi. Amem Ravashi Achli, they ate. Mazutra loy ochlo, Mazutra did not eat. Adahachi Asi Mori Bar Isik, Ashkechinuhu, he found them, V'amalei Larise, and he said to the sharecropper, Amai lo yasis l'Rabbana me'hanach shafirta, why don't you bring from the better ones? So Amalei Amema Ravashi Lamazutra Hashta Maile Achol. In other words, apparently Mazutra was concerned that the sharecropper was stealing, and he wasn't bringing what with the rishus to the balabas, and therefore he refrained from eating. He refrained from eating. We'll see a Taisus in a second. We'll get into this a little bit. So now, when he shows up, the sharecropper Mario Barisik, and says, "Why didn't you give him from the best?" Obviously, what he wasn't stealing anything. So now, Amei Ravashi now saying, "So now, why don't you eat?" So Amalei Ochelmar, but Tanya Nimtzu Yafas Man Shumasei Truma. It's a good shlichus. So therefore, obviously, he was happy with what happened. Amalu Hochi Amarava Leyomer Kachetz Yafas Elin Truma. We only say it by the case of Truma. Mishum the mitzvahu. It's a mitzvah. Benichale. And he's happy that he did the mitzvah. The reason he said over here, why don't you go to the better ones, is he was embarrassed. In other words, really he wasn't happy what he gave. Really, he wasn't happy. And really, therefore, you, Ravashi, and maybe should not have eaten either. And I'm not still going to eat. The reason he said Klachetz Liyafis is not because he was happy with what you did, it's because he's too embarrassed to say in front of us that I didn't want you eating in the first place. Okay, so what's this conversation? Yeah, I'm doing this Taisus because we did see this Gemara recently in Baba Kama, the bottom Taisus. Mazucha lo yachol, dim taimar. Now, guys, what's the reason he won't eat? Clearly, he's worried that the Oris is giving what? That's not his. That the sharecropper is not giving for him. That's why he didn't eat. He thought it's Geneva. Oh, so now, dim taimar. Amai lo yachol. Ha'ama rava perigoisel basra. Again, it's the last daf in the Sechta Baba Kama. Arise midinavshe kozavin. Arise, when he goes ahead and selling you something, it's his own. You don't have to worry about someone else. He's getting a percentage. So Fred the Gemara Kasha, what was a Mazucha worried about? L'chayr, it's a sharecropper. It's not a worker. It's not a poil. He doesn't have a share of the action. He has a piece of the action over here. V'yesh leimar, the hasam shehevi ha'aris mibayis. There, that you can eat from the aris is where he's bringing him from his house. The mistama mimashegiel lechelkoi mevi. Then he bought it from his house, he's probably bringing his own percentage. Aval hacha shehevi min apardis, over here where he bought it from the orchard itself, hayachayshes mazutra, shema b'shas chaluka, layame lebala pardes, titel kenegem ashenasati lehem. In other words, maybe he didn't go, like, as sharecropper, maybe he didn't go ahead and give the corresponding share to the balabas. That was what Mazutra was worried about. So what's the kasha? So what about Amemra and Ravashi? Ravashi, he wasn't chayish. He said it was a sharecropper. He must have gone ahead and divvied it up, your share from my share, and therefore it was his. Because he's giving his own. So that's really the chilukei deis between the two over here. What the chashash was, the sharecropper, is he giving from his own, and then you could take it, or from the balabas? Mazucha was worried about that he was giving from the balabas, and Amem and Ravashi were not worried. Okay, next piece of Gemara requires a bit of an introduction. We know that in order for a foodstuff to go ahead and be makabel tuma, it needs hachshara. It needs to be mukhshil kabel tuma. One of seven liquids. Yad shochad dam is the way to remember it. Yad is yayin, dalet is dam, shin is shemen, ches is cholav, base is right. Shachat is tes is tal, and dam is dvash, and mem is, I said mayim already. Mem is yad. I didn't say mayim. I said, what is dalet is dam? No, I mixed up two things. One more time. Yad is yayin, dalet is dam. Shin is shemen, ches is cholav, tes is tal, and dam, dalet is dam, and mem is mayim. Okay, any one of those liquids. In order for it to be, it has to be that the owner was happy with it. In other words, if the rain falls down upon it and he's not happy with it, right? If it's still on there, it's one thing, but he's not happy with it, then it's not going to be makabel tuma. He has to be happy with it. Okay, so we're going to see very interesting, and it's going to come into the sugya of what of Yishalei Midas. Tashma, Aideo tal aleihem. If the tal is still on them, the morning dew is on them. The samach, and he's happy. He's happy. Harizeh b'chi yutan. It already is mukhshel kabel tuma. However, nagvu, if it's dried up, afal pisha samach, even though he finds out afterwards and he's happy, but it's dry now, he finds out afterwards he's happy. Ein b'chi yutan. It's not mukhshel kabel tuma. Time of mai, lav mishum deloy amrinon kivin degloy milsa dehashta nichalei meikarin ami nichalei. We're asking a kasha guys on Rava. We're asking a lum de shekasha on Rava. He finds out later on that dew was upon him, and he says, "That's great. I wanted to. I'm happy with that when the dew was upon it. It doesn't help." So too, when he finds out afterwards that what of Yush, it doesn't help for what that was miyayish when he lost it. In other words, your thought later on cannot impact what was before. So your Yush that you want to go ahead and say, since you would know he would be miyayish, it's now you can't say since he knows that the tal was upon it, it helps. So it's a kasha on Rava and a raya to Abaya. Says the word it's different over there. Special gzeres akasav. Really, it could help. And Yish Shlomi Das is good Yish. But Shiny Hasan Dechsiv Kiyitain until he puts Ad Shayitain, and now it's dry. It has to be Kiyitain. And it has to be that he puts it on. And at that moment there was nothing on it. If he has to put it on, Reisha Nami, right? Over there, the Reisha also, guys, he didn't put it on. The dew came from Shemayim, he didn't put it on. Says the Gemara, Hasam Kid Rav Papa. The Rav Papa Rami, Rav Papa has the stira. Ksiv Kiyitain, Vikarin and Kiyutan. Now, the way it's written, guys, it's Yud Tes Nun without the long Vav. So we read it as Kiyitain, he will put. However, Yutan means Lashon Pual. It's put. It's done. So even though it's written Kiyitain, the pronunciation is Kiyutan. So we need Yutan similar to Kiyitain. Good? Says the Gemara, Haketzad, the Inyan Kiyutan dum yid Kiyitain. Ma Yitain ledas, af ki Yutan nami ledas. So to Yutan has to be. So if he finds out afterwards, really, really, when you find out something later on, it really does help. And therefore, if I'm miyayish later on, it helps retroactively. You know why it doesn't help by what? By hachshara? It doesn't over there because you need das. Because it says ki yutan and it's written ki yitain. Meaning you need ki yutan similar to ki yitain. Just like ki yitain, you know when you put it on. So to yutan, when it's put on, you have to know about it. So therefore, I can't go ahead and say retroactively it should work. Why? Because I didn't know about it. It's a special din, Masha'en came by Yish, where you don't have the special Gezeres HaKosiv. It would help the knowledge that since I'll be Miyayish later on, it's considered as Miyayish now. So Rav is held serve on the challenge from Hachshara. Tashma. And this is the final checkmate, if you will, to Abaya. A raya to Abaya and a kasha on Rava. Tashma. The Amr Rabbi Yochanan Mishum Rabbi Shmuel Ben Yoed Tzaddik Minayin la'aveda sheshat v'nar shimuteres. Now this is, we spoke out the other day that when even if you're screaming that I want it, and the ocean's carrying it away, it's too late. So the pasuk says the following: "V'chein tasel lechamoyroi, v'chein tasel l'simlasai." You should do for his donkey or for his simla, his clothing. V'chein tasel l'chol avedas achicha. So you should do for all the avedas of your brother. Ashetovad mimenu, that's lost from him. Umatsasa. Now the word mimenu is extra. It should just say ashetovad. It's lost. Umatsasa, and you find it. Lo suchelis alem. What's the word mimenu, guys? What's the word mimenu coming to teach me? Okay, so now. Dam Rabbi Yochanan maybe Yishmael by Yitzadik. Minayin la aveda sheshat v'noshim muteres t'chsiv v'chein tasel l'chamor v'chein tasel l'simlasloi v'chein tasel l'chol avedas achicha asher tovad mimenu umatsasa mi she'avudam himenu umatsuya eitz l'kol adam yatzazu she'avud mimenu ve'enim matsuya eitz l'kol adam. Guys, what when it says lost from him, it means it's lost from him found by somebody else. Lost from him and found by somebody else. Then there's the din of Hashavas Aveda. What happens is lost from everybody. And this is the source for the Zuta Shal Yom. This is the source for what? When the sea takes it away. Now, fellas, in this case, where the sea is taking it away, is there a difference between whether it has a siman or doesn't have a siman? No. Even if it has a siman, if the sea takes it away. Okay, so this is when it, this is when it comes to your hands beheter. This is when it's mutta. The isura, and when it comes to him be'isur, like when you pick it up and the guy wasn't miyayish yet, dumya dehetera, mahetera, just like the heter of zuta shal yam. Bein the ispe simin, whether it has a simin, bein the lespe simin, shari, it's permitted to keep. Afi surah, when it comes to him be'isur, bein the ispe simin, bein the lespe simin, isura, it is asa to keep. So no matter what, even if it has a siman, even if it doesn't have a siman, so this is a raya that yish lamidas loy have a yish. Okay, guys, that's right. Let's go through the lumbus. We're making a comparison between when something is totally mutta or something's asa. Mutta means when it comes to your hands beheter, right? When the Torah matters it. Isra means when it comes to your hands, and it could be asa. Okay, so, meaning you're picking up something that's not yours. It's a Metzia. So when it's mutta to everybody, when the sea is carrying it away, regardless of the fact whether it has a siman or not, it's mutta. Even if it has a siman. Good? So to the Isser, even if it doesn't have a siman, it's mutta. Because you don't make a chiluk between if it has a siman, you have to return it. If it doesn't have a siman, you have to return it. Now, why is it coming to hands be'issa? Because the owner was not miyayish. So it's like it's not like you're stealing, but you're picking up something that's not yours. And Memela, it doesn't make a distinction between Isser, siman or not a siman. So Raya to Abaya, a case of Yish Lamidas without a siman is what is Allah have a Yish.
Someone doesn't do it. This is Hashavas Aveda, actually, right? Someone doesn't, he keeps the Aveda. It's not a din of Aveda?
You want to make the mitzvah of Hashava.
But
There's a din of Hashava. Gezel is when you take from the person's hands. When you take it, you have a yigzal es hachanis. You have to take it. That's gezela. You're not doing an act. You're not going to his house. But again, you're not making the mitzvah shava leisuchel es alem. If a guy claims from it, then you go into the parsha of Vayikra of Asham Gezelis. Then you would be. If you deny it, if you deny having it, and then you admit it, then you would be considered a gazlan, right? You'd be considered a gazlan. Shemra Veidu, we have machlokes. What? See, if you're a gazlan, you'd be chay boinsin. Shemra Veidu, we have machlokes, whether it's a shemachinam or shemasacha, right? Puta Rabbi Yosef, that's the famous Puta Rabbi Yosef. Okay, anyway, we'll see. Bes Hashem will get there. Okay, now, so guys, you hear that? That's the now. What's the chiddush over here? That the halacha is like what? Like a baya. Says the Gemara, Tiyufta the Rabba Tiyufta the Hilchasa Kavase the Baya Bial Kigam. This is the Bial Kigam Yish Lamidas Einim Zaimim Lemafreya or Lechi Hoimime Elov Kedushin Nisur Labia Gili Daita Begitten and Mumma Eichel Nevelis is pata for Edis and that. That's the source. Amler Vacha Breder Rava Ravashi. B'chimid Achad the Toisef Rava. If Rava has been slugged up and Yish Shalai Das Loi have a Yish, Hani Tamre Dezika, these dates that have been blown by the wind, Heichi Achlina Lahu, how could you eat them? In other words, the owner does not know about it. Guys, the owner does not know about it, and you're eating it. L'chayr that's yush shaloi midas, and you wouldn't have a right to eat it. So how in the world could you eat this? Okay, Amalei kivan the ikka shkotzim ramashim the ka'achlahu. Since there are creepy crawlers that eat the stuff, may kara yushim miyayish, not yush midas. He's miyayish, and the owner of the tree is miyayish even before they fall. That if they fall, it's miyayish. Minayu. Yasmi dalab b'nei mechila ninu. Yisoimim that are not b'nei mechila mai. What are you going to say to that? Let's say yisoimim on land, and they're not able to be meichel. How could you eat the zik? How could you eat the dates on their land? Amalei ba'aga ba'ara yasmi lemechaskinan. In the valley of a land, we're not machzik that it belongs to a. Most land belongs to a bendas, belongs to a gadol, right? So, in other words, you can eat it. The date on the smach that it doesn't. The land does not belong to a cotton. Muchzik voimid mai. What about if you take a no for sure it does belong to one? Kirkasamai. What happens if the date tree is surrounded by a moat, and therefore it stops shkotzim ramoshim from coming to get it? Mai, what's the din? Samalei, the din would be asirin. In that case, what? It would be asa. And in that case, taka, it would be asa. Rav Ashi answered, Rav Acha Breda Rava, in that case, taka would be asa. Why? Because yish lemidas, loy have a yish. He said bundles of tfu and shusharabim. Now the they're tied up, right? Guys, they're tied up. Amarabba, va'afilu b'davish by simin. And once they're in shusharabim, even if they have a simin, you'll be able to keep it. Ariel shaloi. Alma, what do you see? Ksava Rabba. Rabba's of the opinion. Sima asu the dares, a simin that will be trampled upon and taken off. Layavi simin. So it's machlokes. So obviously he holds what? That it's a shaila, whether a siman that's going to be trampled upon was obviously in the case of krichas p'shusarabim, the assumption that there's a siman in it, and it got trampled upon. That's why Ariel shaloi. Rav Amar lo shanu ela b'dav shein by siman. No, krichas p'shusarabim is it doesn't have a siman. Ava b'dav sheish by siman chayiv lahachlis. You'd be chayiv to call it out. So we have machlokes between Rabba and Rava as to the Mishnah, guys. When our Mishnah says krichas p'shusarabim Ariel shaloi, according to Rabba, because even if it has a simin, it's going to be trampled off. According to Rava, no, it's speaking where it didn't have a simin. But aim by simin. But davashesh by simin chayiv lahachris. Alma kasava Rava. Rava is of the opinion simin asli dares have a simin. A simin that'll be trampled. One is a good simin. Okay, so there is, in other words, we're creating a machloikus between Rava and Rava based upon their interpretation of the words of our Mishnah. They're not arguing necessarily in Simrasi Daris independently. They're arguing based upon the way they're interpreting the Mishnah. If you interpret the Mishnah that there's a siman like Rabbah, you have to say the siman is going to be knocked off. If you touch the Mishnah that the Mishnah is speaking without a siman, it's because the siman is on. We're not chayish; it's going to be trampled on. So that influences how you're going to learn pshat in the Mishnah. So when Rabbah said the Mishnah is speaking where there's no siman, because if there was a siman, it would not be Hariel Shaloi, you'd be Chayiv Tahakris. That's why it's Hariel Shaloi, because there's no siman. Like Rabbi, even if there's a siman, Hariel Shaloi. Why? Because that siman is going to be taken off.
So the siman get taken off, or the item's going to get destroyed by people trying?
No, the siman, the item destroyed is nothing Hariel Shaloi. Who cares? No, it's the siman. The siman.
It's like Zut Hashem, because it's going to get destroyed on the road by everyone trampling it. That's why
Zut Shal Yom, it's going to be intact. It's just floating away. Over here, no. We're not. It's going to be usable, or else what's Hariel Shaloi? You're not going to have no use for garbage.
Because he took it before people trampling it.
No, it means that it's similar to the Daris. I think the siman is mashma lashon siman also the Daris, right? Okay, so now the ikid the masila shmaitza b'ampe nafshi. That those who learn this dialogue between Rava and Rabba not as dependent upon pshat in our Mishnah, rather as a separate machlokes, Right? Siman asli dares. Rabba amalei havi siman. A siman asli dares is not a good siman. But Rava amar havi siman. Good. Now, Pana krichas p'sharab me'ev l'shaloi. B'shus hayachid noitul machris. Hechidami. Either lesbu simin b'shus hayachid my machris. Why do you be calling out if it's b'shus hayachid? Elolav dispe simin. V'ketani b'shus harabim hariel shaloi. Alma simin asli dares layavi simin. He offered the Rava for a second time. right? Amalach Rabba, again, very interesting. The Gemara speaks out much more, that could be a reason, it's a very interesting reason why kids begin learning this is the first, it's the wordiness of the Gemara lends itself to better clarity and understanding than many of the Gemaras that we're used to seeing. And that could be the reason why one of the reasons they begin teaching a child Shas with this parak. Amalach Rabba la'olam delesbu siman. It doesn't have a siman. Now the question is, if it doesn't have a siman, what are you calling out in Rishus HaYachid, fellas? If it doesn't have a siman, what are you calling out in Rishus HaYachid? With the comment Rishus HaYachid, my machris makom. You call out the place. For Rabbi Omar makom lehavi siman. Rabbi is the opinion that no, it can't be because that would not be a good siman. Ditmar makom Rabbi Omar lehavi siman. Rabbi says what? Rabbi says that what? It is a good siman. Okay, Rashi says machris makom vena machris shema aveda. You machris the place. You don't call out the aveda. Al shema makom. You say I found something in this place. Misha of mimenu aveda b'makom pleni yava v'yomer. Someone who come and say what the aveda was. Ma iba, what you lost. B'zeh bo v'yomer avarati Hashem chevis pleni. Knows I lost such and such. I lost this thing over there. Okay, Bez Hashem will stop. I shall be tomorrow afternoon again. Everyone.